These are crazy team builds you should try to build in Palworld. The first team build that you should try is an Elizabe team. Elizabe has a partner skill where her stats will increase the more B-Guard are in your team. This means that you can raise her stats to pretty ridiculous levels if you stack your team with as many B-Guards as possible. And even better is if you can also condense those B-Guards to higher levels. So this partner skill works in tandem. The higher that your queen bee command level is, then she also gets more of a boost when you have the bee guards on your team. So you notice that this 0-star condensed Elizabe is only getting 82% extra attack percentage bonus. But if I go to my 4-star condensed Elizabe, you can see that we're now getting 145%. So that difference is quite staggering. So not only do you need to boost the condensation levels of your Elizabe, but you also need to boost the condensation levels of your B-Guards as well in order to get the most out of it. So if your Elizabe is max condensed level, and also if your B-Guards are max condensed level, each B-Guard is going to give a 24% increase to both attack and defense on your Elizabe. Now, Elizabe cannot be ridden, so you cannot control the frequency in which she attacks. However, Sweepa can be ridden, so, that might help influence your decision on which one you would like to build. With Sweepa, you have a little bit more of control over how the attacks get used. Also, the typing definitely plays a factor. Sweepa is an ice type, so that means you'll have a better matchup against those dragon types, especially like, say, Jetragon. Whereas Elizabe is going to have better matchup against those ground types like Menasting and Anubis. And so my first test subject is going to be the ground type, Anubis. Now let's see how fast Elizabe can take him down. She hits for about 1,000 damage with one attack. And yeah, that tornado move is looking pretty strong. That move is her signature move, but I think it's probably better if we teach her something else. So yeah, Anubis goes down in about 4 hits. But of course, that matchup is to our advantage. Now let's take her to fight the King Paka Christ, which is neutral to grass. So one attack is doing some pretty good damage. The tornado move is also doing quite a bit of damage. So we're not defeating King Paka in 4 hits, but it seems like we'll be able to take it down in maybe 6 to 5? If we don't get frozen. Probably should have recalled. Oh, that tornado move did a lot of damage. And, oh, her signature move is not that great. I definitely should replace that. So one more attack. So, there we go. Six moves against a neutral matchup. And then there's also another pal in the game that has a very similar partner skill, and that pal is Sweepa and Swee. So can be ridden, and while fighting together, stats will increase the more Swee are in your team. And while in a team, Sweepa's stats will be increased. These guys have the same exact ability as Elizabe. So those are both 2 team compositions you should consider building in Palworld, because it is quite powerful. Next up is going to be a GIS Bolt team, and in order to make GIS Bolt truly shine, pumping your team full of Sparkets is going to be the best bet, because they have an ability that while in the team, it will increase the attack power of electric type pals. So here's my GIS Bolt, and his attack reaches 1,887. By the Sparkets, up to 126% extra attack power. Now without the Sparkets, my attack power is only 1,419, and we only get 70%. This comes from the Legend, Ferocious, and Musclehead stats. Picking up 1 level 5 Sparket boosts our attack by 20%. Picking up another level 5 is indeed going to give us another 20%, so we should see 110. And then I have a level 4. So in this case, it's giving us 16%, so 4% weaker than a fully condensed Sparket. Come closer, come closer. I don't want your loot falling into the water. Alright, here we go. Alright. Each bullet dealing about 50 damage. And he just gets absolutely melted. Level 45 Jormuntide versus GIS Bolt. Yeah, that's GIS Bolt for you. And also should be noted that that was not type advantaged. His minigun does not count as lightning damage. It should just be counted as quote-unquote normal damage, which is different from neutral damage. This is not resisted by the dark element. Alright, now let's take Grisbolt to fight Blazemut. Let's see how fast we can do this one. Alright, hitting about 40 damage, and oh, he is done. He is done. He's going down in like 10 seconds, maybe even less. So that's the power of Grisbolt paired along with a PAL that boosts the attack power of electric PALs. And there are quite a few PALs in the game that actually have this ability. And so for fire PALs, we have Ruby, which he has a very similar ability. It increases the attack power of fire PALs. So, we can do this same type of team using a fire type. Fox Sparks has the Huggy Fire skill, so pairing a Fox Sparks with Ruby seems like a pretty fun team to maybe experiment with. Another fire type PAL that could get boosted by this is Incineram. They have the Flame Claw Hunter skill, so the Hellfire Claw ability is probably going to get boosted to pretty good levels. Bushi as well, Brandish Blade, he has the Iaigiri ability, so you could probably have some fun with Bushi and a team of rubies. And you could probably have some fun with Blazemut. If you fill up your team with rubies, it will increase Blazemut's attack power, and also while you are riding Blazemut, all of Blazemut's fire abilities are going to get enhanced even further, so you could probably get a pretty strong Mount Blazemut build going here. And likewise with Jormuntide Ignis. Now, Kelpsy Ignis also actually has the same ability as Ruby, but I think in my opinion, finding and catching rubies are a lot easier than Kelpsy Ignises. Now, the water equivalent for this ability is going to be Kelpsy, while on a team increases the attack power of water pals. So the pal that comes to mind immediately is Relaxorus. You can increase the damage of his Hungry Missile to some pretty interesting levels as well. Very similar probably to Grisbolt, although the DPS might not be as good because the enemy just gets knocked around like a ton, but still a very interesting and fun team build to attempt. Just like with Jormuntide Ignis, we could probably do something very similar with Jormuntide. And out of the water pals, those are really the only ones that I can think of that are very interesting. But if you can think of any other water pals that have interesting abilities, then definitely try this Kelpsy build. Next up is our grass build. So Bristla has the same ability, but for grass pals. And immediately, the pal that comes to mind for building a team around is Lifmunk and Tansy. These two guys get the submachine gun and the assault rifle ability, and that just sounds like a ton of fun. Lifmunk is like a super cute pal, and you can make this guy super duper strong, pairing it with a whole team of Bristlas. That submachine gun is going to do mad DPS. And then, of course, again, likewise, you can just pair this with any other grass pal. Masanda has the grenade launcher, for example. Now, the equivalent for the ground type is Dumud. The pal that immediately comes to mind is probably Anubis. But in terms of that, I don't really know of any other ground type pals that can be mounted or have any special abilities. So that one, definitely leave me a comment down below for any other ground type pals that might be interesting with a Dumud build. Next up is Hucrates, and he will boost the attack power of Dark-type pals. And the pattern is the same, guys. Any cool Dark-type pal that you want to start using, then just pair them up with a bunch of Hucrates. Now, maybe Necromus or Shadowbeak are some interesting choices. Lylene Noct, maybe Astagon. And we already went through it with the electrics, but Sparkit is our electric. And then for ice is Foxicle. This one is definitely going to be one of the harder ones to max out because Foxicle's spawn rate is pretty low, or they spawn in really high levels, so you have to use super high level balls in order to catch them. But nonetheless, using an ice type pal that is boosted by an army of Foxicle seems like a pretty good choice. Sibylix is a pretty strong attacker. And then you also have Frostallion. Two really powerful ice pals there that can go really well with an army of Foxicles. And then the next build that you should very highly consider are mount builds. These are specifically mounts that will apply an elemental type to your player's attack. So Ragnahawk in this case is a mount that will apply fire damage to your attacks, and it is quite powerful. Our assault rifle hits are dealing almost 2k per bullet, and our pistol shots are dealing pretty much 2k per bullet. So what's happening with these mount builds is that they not only apply an elemental damage type to your attacks, but it also increases your attack power just in general. So right now I have 110 attack. I have an extra 10% from a passive skill called Vanguard on my Ragnahawk. But as soon as I mount, my attack jumps up to 209. I am getting an extra 100% attack just by mounting my Ragnahawk. So this is definitely partly in fact because I have a level 5 partner skill. So the lower level your partner skill is, then the less attack that you will gain when mounting. So again, showing the damage here, about 2k per bullet, and then unmounted, about 1k. So quite literally 2 times the amount of damage. Now, also because we're dealing fire damage, then bringing it to a fight that our element is strong against, either grass or ice, and our damage is quite ridiculous, actually. So the Mammorest, fire damage, and I'm gonna pull out the shotgun, and it's also asleep, so this might actually one-shot the Mammorest. No, okay, it does not one-shot. But it does like 1/5 of his health. 5 shotgun blasts to the face, and that Mammorest is gone. Now let's go ahead and take on the Valet. I'm going to go with the pistol this time. So not as much as 1,000 damage we were doing against the training dummy, because the defense on the training dummy is definitely a lot less, but an entire clip from the pistol is dealing more than 50% to the Valet. And the superior mobility that comes out of a flying mount is also just really nice. So these mount builds make guns super duper strong, but it's basically a build that's centered around the player's attack stat. So in fact, there's even another way to further increase these types of builds, and that is to completely fill our team with Gobfins. So Gobfin is a POW that will increase the player's attack while in the team. And so I have a full team here of max leveled Gobfins, all level 4 condensed. And if we take a look at my attack, it is going up to 130%. Each of my Gobfins also has the Vanguard passive ability, so each one is giving me an extra 10% attack, so that's 40% just from passives. And so I'm just going to drop these all really quickly, and you can see just the 10% from the one Vanguard on my Ragnahawk, and then picking up one. So each Gobfin is giving me about 30% extra attack power. 20% from the level 4 condensed, and then 10% from Vanguard. This one, you can see, from 140 to 170, 200, and then 230. So let's go ahead and take this out to the field to Frostallion. And so since we're type advantaged, let's see how well these player attack builds actually do. Alright, Frostallion, prepare to meet my fire build. I'm gonna start off with a shotgun blast. A shotgun, if you're not at the right range, you're not going to be doing max damage. Oh, wow, yeah, a single clip of assault rifle. We're dealing like 40 damage. Also, I'm not hitting any crits. So I think if we hit crits, we're hitting for 60 apiece. That's pretty strong. Oh, we're taking down this Frostallion in like a couple minutes. What happened? I couldn't reload. I gotta get closer. Oh my gosh, I whiffed. It went right over his head. Alright, let's pull out the pistol. 60 damage. I probably want to try to catch this. Ooh, don't want to get hit by that one. There we go. Now let's try to catch this Frost Stallion. So, yeah, that was pretty quick. The player mount builds, taking out Frost Stallion, and, I don't know, I want to say that was like 3 minutes. Oh, wow, and we caught it in just 2 balls. Not bad. And so, this is the damage that we're dealing without applying any stat points into the attack stat, and I actually happen to have 2 points left to use, and I'm going to put that into attack. I've never actually tried this. I don't know if the passive abilities actually scale off the base attack of the character, so we're actually going to find out together. I'm going to increase my attack by 4%, and our attack went up to 240. So I'm actually going to do the math here real quickly, and I believe that it is indeed scaling off of your base attack. So that means if you invest more into your attack stat, then all of these passives will actually increase your attack even more. So yeah, these builds, these player-mounted builds, these mount builds get even stronger if you allocate your stat points into the attack stat. I have 3 memory-wiping medicines, so I'm definitely going to invest some skill points into attack, 100%. Alright, now going through the PAL deck, all of the PALs that will give you elemental damage when you mount them are as follows. For Dragon, it's Chillet. And yeah, Chillet is such an awesome PAL. Really early PAL that you can get. I think definitely underrated in terms of power. People probably wrote this off, but it has such a good partner skill. And Dragon is a really good endgame type because the last and final tower is a dark type, as well as Necromus is also a dark type. So Chillet and an assault rifle is going to be doing mad damage. Univolt has electricity. Tyrant has fire, just like Ragnahawk. However, I think Ragnahawk is a little bit better just because it's flying. Pyron knocked for dark damage. Moraith is another one that applies dark damage to the player's attacks while mounted. Beacon is the electric type one. Azurobe is the water type. Warsect is actually mistranslated. He does not apply fire damage to the player's attacks, so this is not one. Elzephyr is another mount that applies dark damage to the player's attack. And since it's flying, I think that this is probably going to be the better choice over Wraith and Pyron Knocked. Frost Stallion is the go-to ice damage applier to our attacks, so Frost Stallion is definitely a really strong one. If you're looking to farm jet dragons really fast and really easily, then yeah, you probably want to invest into a Frost Stallion. And to be honest, guys, that's all that I could find, so I could not find one for grass type, I could not find one for ground type. And I also could not find one for neutral type, although neutral doesn't really beat any other element in the game, so I don't think that there is really a point in that. So definitely explore these player attack mount builds. They are incredibly powerful. And in my opinion, they're probably one of the stronger builds that you can do in the game, apart from the Grisbolt build or the Tansy and Lithmonk builds. I think that if you're in the early or mid-game still, maybe try to go for that Lithmonk build. You can definitely make that build pretty early in the game. Anyway, guys, hey, leave a comment down below on what you think of these builds. Let me know which build appeals to you guys the most. And until next time, I'll see you guys on the next one.